Well done, well done.
That was a marathon. I didn't realise I had to have my running shoes on. Patrick, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
What do you think of Holland?
I'm absolutely loving Holland. I'm loving your weather. Thank you for bringing that for me, that's very nice. I didn't even ask for it either, it was lovely. But no, I'm having a wonderful time. I had a fantastic day in Amsterdam yesterday. Did some work and then did some enjoyment. And it was lovely, and it's been really, really nice to actually see this part of the country as well. It's been very special.
You've got a little
Family link, I believe, as well with Holland.
Yes, it transpires that my mother talked about this, and it's only after a while that it starts to, you start to think about your heritage. But my great-grandmother was Dutch. Yeah, from Haarlem. So I now need to do some digging. So if anybody has any idea where that might be starting, then feel free to tell me. But it's such a nice connection, so it's lovely. And it's the one place that I had always hoped I could bring my mother, and I didn't get round to doing it, which was such a shame, because I know she would have loved it and loved the people. So that was one of my regrets, actually, that I haven't been able to do it. But you were going to ask me about the catchphrase.
There's been a murder.
Yes, I couldn't hear him say it anymore. It's funny to have a programme that has a catchphrase, because someone shouts it to me every day, almost in my life. So when I go into an airport, oh, there's been a murder. And, you know, so it happens regularly. And I think it actually came from a comedy show. Well, it was brought to light a lot more in a comedy show in Britain called The Fast Show. And it was their last episode. And they had a sketch where they had, you know, detectives walking about this scene. And everyone says, has someone been murdered? Who's been murdered? Have you seen somebody being murdered? So it became a catchphrase, and I think actually we just picked up on it. But I have to say that I've always been asked, has anyone ever said it in the programme? And Jackie Reid said it. Except she said, she knocked a door because Jackie Reid used to always have to knock and enter the door. And she said to Mark McManus's character Taggart, sir, there's been another murder. So it was never just been there's been a murder, there was always more than one.
Tell me, Blythe, how did it all start with you with Taggart? Because you, of course, know the famous Jim Taggart from Mark McManus. What kind of man was he?
Well, I started in theatre before I had a job in television, and the then, I think you've mentioned Robert Love, the then executive producer of drama at Scottish Television, was very nice and suggested that when I had written to him, I was wanting to find out how best to get some work in television, and he said, well, why don't you come in, we can have a chat. And then I went up for that Taggart that was being filmed the following month, and I didn't get that part, thankfully, because the next part would be Jackie Reid. And she was a WPC in uniform, and of course the programme had already been established. This was in 1990, so it had been running for 7 years. And so therefore I kind of knew what the programme, the popularity of the programme, but also the character of Taggart and Jardine. So I was quite familiar with the scene and the setup, and I thankfully got that part. And during the actual filming of that, which in those days it was a 10-week shoot for 3 hours, because I don't know whether or not you ever got it when it was in a 3-hour format, and it would come back every week, and you had to tune in the next week to see another red herring. And so in those days it was a very long shoot, and I was part of the first part of it, and then I had 3 weeks off. And during that time they asked me if I would really like my character to come back, and if so, I would have to learn to drive.